just a couple of hours ago, we can see some women protesting heavily, singing the songs of Samonepa to return, and also singing the songs of the Kanu to be released by the Nigerian government, because it seems that these are the only two men who understand the language the Fulani marauding elders seems to understand. Let us watch the video together. Okay, welcome back. Now, I haven't watched that video. While I honestly do not understand what she said completely, but what I know is she is angry, bitter, scared, and she is dissatisfied with the level of governance she has been getting from the Enugu state government. It is clear that the Enugu state government in the fight against these Fulani marauders is helpless. It is sure and apparent that Pmbah, as of today, cannot fight his benefactors as speculated. You know, immediately after the election, we saw how so many Igbo youths, hit the streets in Enugu when there were allegations that Pmbah rigged the election, that he wasn't the right winner of that position, and therefore these are one of the repercussions that those youths foresaw, that there will be a time that these Fulanis might begin to demand in return for what good they did for Pmbah. I don't know how true this is, but I think this is becoming a similar pattern, because the same thing is happening also in Ebonyi. Ebonyi also, we know how the current governor of the day, Francis Nwanfuru, has this sympathy for the Muslim community, where we have a large numbers of Fulanis in Afikpo local government in Ebonyi state. In fact, we also how Francis Nwanfuru has, been the only governor that has earmarked over 500 million naira to send Igbo people to Hajj. These things are uncommon with the Igbo tradition. You hardly see where a southeastern governor will send people to southeast to go for Islamic pilgrimage. What we know is Igbos are largely Christians and of course traditionalists, but we can see that some states in the southeast are currently being infiltrated by this religion of Islam, and also we can now see that it is becoming a pattern that the Fulanis are running rampage in those cities and towns. We can see that the Fulanis have been attacking over and over and over again Enugu state. Likewise, they have been attacking Ebonyi state. So it was not around December we saw where they attacked a village in Enugu, in Ebonyi, where they killed about 40 people, and it took the governor like almost 10 days before he could come out and speak about that issue. Today again, we can see Pmbah, whom we all felt was really serious about this fight against insurgency. But today we can see that there has been series of protests in about 3 different communities, whereby the Fulani elders are having a coordinated attacks, sacking these women who are largely farmers, peasants, usurping their lands, stealing their farm properties, raping them. It is becoming a helpless situation, because I don't think any country should allow some elements to become untamable. Some elements should become a figure of terror. I don't think a country can ever exist wherein some people think they have right to wield guns, and when the likes of Kanu and Samonepa haven't spoken with the federal government seeking for help and assistance, but it seems the help is not coming forth, and they decided to take the laws into their hands. I think it is unjust, it is inhumane for the federal government to call such people terrorists, because they are not the provocators. The real provocators are these Fulani elders who came all the way from Futajalon, Senegambia, and then they decided to start invading people's farmlands. And before you know it, they are sacking people from their own villages, renaming their hometowns to Utman Danfodio, to Balarabe, all manner of Islamic names, and in fact now forcefully having sex with these women. You know, having, this non-consensual sexual affairs, raping them broad daylight, is now becoming a pattern. And the federal government cannot act immediately, they cannot act with quick swiftness, because these guys, the only offense that they committed is they are Nigerians. Sincerely, if these people are not Nigerians, if they were Cameroonians, I don't think there's any place in Cameroon that is experiencing this high level of human rights abuse. I don't think there's anywhere in Cameroon whereby we hear about Fulanis just rampaging villages anyhow and the government will be quiet about it. The Nigerian army is nowhere to be found. We don't even know where they are. The Nigerian armies are quiet. What we hear is the Nigerian army are beating or NEPA officials, beating them up because they did not give them light. I mean, why? It is the Nigerian armies that did not pay. They did not pay their bills, right? They did not pay their bills. But what we have is the Nigerian army will suddenly go quiet. But when these Igbo youths who are watching how their mothers and wives are getting raped, when they decide to take up arms and fight their own way out of this Fulani bondage, we start hearing that they are terrorists. We start hearing all manner of, labeling that the Igbos are destroying the sanctity and integrity of the Nigerian unity. We start hearing all manner of excuses. Today now, the Igbo women are crying, shouting, they are raping us, they are kidnapping our children, they are sleeping with our daughters, they are taking over our farmlands. Have you heard the Chief of Army Staff talk about it? Have you heard the Chief of Defense Staff release a communique, at least a press brief, to at least pass some words of encouragement that we are with you, we are one Nigeria, we will not watch the Fulanis do this to you? But they won't be able to say it, because in the Nigerian army, who has a larger population there? Who occupies the Nigerian army? The Northerners? The people that has the largest number in the Nigerian army, are they not the Northerners? So how can you expect brothers to kill themselves? They'll find it impossible. They'll find it hard to tackle themselves, because they know that I cannot be killing my brother from one Igbo boy. No, because they will see themselves as brothers. They have the same, they have the same lineage, heritage, the same language. Most importantly, they share the same religion. Because all these Fulani marauders are what? They are Muslims. We know. You hardly see a Fulani elder who is a Christian. Hardly. You can. I don't think you can even have it. They are 100% Muslims. That's it. And they'll tell you they're doing this because of their own religious belief. I think these women are actually right, seeking for the release of Mazina and Kanu of Samanepa. If the government fails, then the people have to take the law into their hands, because it is very, very unfair for the Fulani areas to always seem to have their way on killing innocent people, sacking people from their homes and villages. This was the same thing they did in the southwest just some weeks ago, when they invaded some farms in Ondo and in Oyo. I mean, these people are becoming a terror, and we just have to call them for who they are. The federal government must act, because this is just a complete and a perfect recipe for anarchy. And if this happens, I think the federal government will have themselves to blame, because this is becoming a very show of a failed state, which is akin to zoo republic, because some people calling themselves pastoral farmers cannot seem to be a higher citizen than some of us who have decided to be educated, who have decided to be farmers, who have decided to just stay in our own community. We cannot continue to watch some people invade and chase us out of our ancestral land. Thank you. The Biafran spirit gets a reawakening as Donald Trump yesterday restates that he will ensure that he restores every Christian right and democratic right in any nation where Islam seems to be suppressive. We saw how Donald Trump, in the last 40 days that he has been the president, how he has been able to reduce the influence and affluence of Islamization. The first thing he did was to take away the funding. He exposed how the Hamas, yes, how the Hamas have been funding, and we are now seeing situations whereby bandits are running, they are dropping their guns, and indeed we can see that the Biafra as a state has now regained relative peace.
Yes.
Mr. Ralph, welcome. What's your reaction?
It is going to be a triangular explanation or secular explanation, because I'm going to just from the, Trump's statement of not allowing all the Christians all over the world to be disallowed anymore by the terrorists from there. I will come to Nigeria here, where it is obvious that we, Nigerian country, are using that diaspora remittance of USAID to fund bandits, to fund all the insurgents in the northeastern Nigeria. Then again, it has all ended there. We've seen how Hamas has been using remittance, at least funding from United States, to perpetrate their atrocities at the Gaza. So welcome to this wonderful analytical point of view stage, where we understand that Trump has actually come to stop all the menace, encroaching across Africa by the Muslims, let me say Janjaweeds in Africa, like in Somalia, like in Sudan. Then you have Nigeria here. In Nigeria here you have Al Qaeda, stricken northern region that is having ISIS affiliation called ISWAP. ISWAP has actually teamed up with Boko Haram, an insurgent that just all of a sudden erupted during the regime or tenure of Musa Umaru Yar'Adua. Okay. That was Umaru Yar'Adua when he sprang up, and we began to at least derail from doing the needful as a result of tribalism, as a result of religious bigotry. That was why Yar'Adua was playing emotional. He could not thoroughly stamp them out until Jonathan came and tried his best. He did not stop there, and Boko Haram has grown into a giant, an incurable giant today in Nigeria country. Let us just diversify. Let us move towards the angle of Somalia, where Al-Shabaab are teamly, largely, occupy the forest, the desert over there.
Well, before you digress, the Democratic members in the parliament yesterday, most of them were actually seeking for the return of USA. You remember that it was under the Democratic rule of Barack Obama and of course Biden that Islamization and terrorism even
began.
Yesterday we saw how they were shouting, they were protesting. They were protesting against Donald Trump. Like, yes. Return USA, Africa needs it. And most of these guys, surprisingly, are Muslims. Yes. In the House of Congress.
Yes. You know what? The Democrats are sleeping giants. I could actually analyze it, streamline my points based on what I know in the past about Democratic Party platform in the United States. It was during Democratic era of Bill Clinton that Al Qaeda leader, late Osama bin Laden, actually led or sponsored 7 pilots, terrorist pilots that actually used American aircraft, turn it against missile against American various cities in 2001. I'm talking about September 9/11. It was Al-Qaeda that actually trained Mohammed Atta, Mohammed this, all of them. Mohammed Atta is from Egypt. All of them that use American aircraft to bomb the Pennsylvania, Pentagon, Washington, the WTO building in New York. Those pilots, they enter because of the kind of the diplomacy Americans, outside Americans, the Arabs, the Indians were enjoying anytime democratic is in charge of American government. Now we know that the people that are in charge are the Republican. Donald Trump is a Republican. They are the dogs of war. If you want war, they will give you war. They are not diplomatic. They don't pet truth. They don't pet war. They actually stand eyeball to eyeball with war or whatever war represents. And you can see the diplomats could not contain it when Trump has actually stood up that is going to stop USA ID remittance into African countries. That's why you see all the Muslims, you see all the Muslims, American Muslims, walking out of Congress House, out of the Capitol yesterday, because they are against that policy, because they are the one that are funding terrorism across Africa. Look at what is going on in Nigeria here. The Democrats, they are responsible. During Obama regime, the money, the funding of USAID thrived too well, straight 8 years, which was why they used it to fund all manners of insurgency in the northern Nigeria. It is the money from the United States. And when Trump actually assumed office, he found out. He worked with FBI. Trump could be the Director General of CIA now. That is how American system works. Their president is always, if he no head the FBI, the president will head CIA, Central Intelligence Agency. He found out what went wrong, where this money are coming from, who are those billionaires funded terrorists in the south, in the northeastern Nigeria. It was actually, the investigation actually ended up inciting USAID. And you can see those bad eggs in the house and their accolades. They were the one that were working out on Trump yesterday. Examine them well. All of them are Democrats. Democrats are too cool. Democrats are too quiet. They are very, very diplomatic, thereby causing America this kind of dangerous insecurity. What happened in September 11 was that as a result of the quiet nature, diplomatic attitude of the Democrats, many terrorists were able to migrate from Middle East Europe into United States of America. And as they entered, the security of that land, the Homeland Security, the CIA and the FBI could not actually find out their major reason of coming in their large numbers, because during the time of Bill Clinton, they lived together with Arab Americans. They mixed up very well. There was no visa ban for people that are coming from Middle East Europe, I mean Arab world. That's why they could not suspect those boys, those terrorists trained by the tunnel engineer giant Osama bin Laden. And they manipulated America, has lived in America for many years, studying how to pilot aircraft, and successfully they were all graduated. And you see the aftermath. They used the American airplane. They coordinated the plan too well. It was in the morning time like this. I was working that time at GRA. All of a sudden, the very establishment where I was working was having a bigger screen, very mighty lucid. What do you call it? LCD. I saw it. They attacked. Up to how many numbers of airplane took up at the same time, well coordinated. Oh my God, it was like a movie. And they actually succeeded on bringing down the two tallest buildings in New York, the WTA, World Trading Center. Two of them were the major targets, and they all brought them down. The one that was targeting White House could not get to White House because the pilots, American passengers that were sitting closer to the cockpit, could at least struggle with Mohammed Atta. They used knife and struggle until they prevailed on Mohammed Atta. That was the one that was targeting White House to bring down George Bush Oval Office, and the passengers in that aircraft prevailed against Mohammed Atta, whose origin is from Egypt. He's still alive. He is in federal prison in the USA. And then again, the one that was targeting Pentagon. Pentagon is where American military headquarters is. That was where they actually, if they want to embark on military operation or air blaze, that is where they were going. That's where they are going to have unanimous agreement on how such military operation should be actually conducted. And the very airplane that was targeting Pentagon could not actually succeeded, but northern side of Pentagon was brought down because Pentagon is a big building with 5 shape. Yeah. Pentagon meaning 5. So this northern part of Pentagon was destroyed by these terrorists. It did not affect the whole Pentagon. That was how the terrorists, terrorist activities that day or art.
So indeed the world seems to be safe again under the watch of Donald Trump.
Donald Trump is a dog of war. The Republicans are dogs of war. Let me tell you, when you talk about war, you remember the Republican. I know vividly in 1986, 87, 88, how Ronald Reagan was a Republican. He wasn't a Democrat. That was how Ronald Reagan continued concentrated assault on Lord of Terror. Whom am I referring to? The Lord of Terror was Mama of Gaddafi. He answered it as AKA, that is a Lord of Terror that is sponsoring terrorism across the whole Northern Africa. He came out and challenged America. That's why Ronald Reagan regime penciled Lord of Terror, Mama Gaddafi, as one of the most dangerous enemy of the West. Mama Gaddafi sponsored the terrorists that actually bombed Logbe, Heathrow Airport in the UK. Yes, that was I think 1986/1987 or 86/85, and they bombed Heathrow Airport and went scot-free. Then the world, the United States, especially United Nations, all the member nations said that provided Lord of Terror said he was responsible, that is going to present those terrorists that attack Heathrow Airport in London, and they follow the case. From how many years? It was this new millennium, beginning of new millennium, that Lord of Terror, Muammar Gaddafi, surrendered the terror.